and allow all the others to join in. A lot of parents are joining in currently, so we will be waiting for the next 3 to 4 minutes and allow everyone to join in, and then we'll start it off. So we'll wait for 3 to 4 minutes and then we'll start. We still have parents joining in with us. We will start exactly at 4:05. I think we should allow another minute because clients are joining in, so we can allow another minute. Okay, so we still have parents joining in. We'll now allow maybe 2 more minutes. Sure. We hope that this video and audio is audible to everybody, whoever is present on this session. Please give us a thumbs up in the react if we are audible. Yes, I think we are audible and visible both. We still have parents pouring in. So,
Aloka, I think we should
yes,
start.
we'll
Yes.
be starting. So, can we please have the visuals? Your baby's journey towards a secured future. After birth, the cord is clamped and cut, and the baby is moved to the nursery. Residual blood is collected from the cord without causing any discomfort to the mother or the baby. The maternal blood is also collected following a standard phlebotomy procedure for testing for diseases like hepatitis, HIV, HTLV, CMV, syphilis, malaria, etc. Post successful collection, the cord, and the maternal blood samples are labeled and sealed. These samples are packed inside a thermoneutral kit box and then transported to Cordlife's laboratory through a temperature controlled logistics service. Post receipt at the lab, the internal temperature of the box is checked, and upon acceptance, all the components get labeled using laboratory labels individually. The cord blood containing bag is now wrapped and put inside a pre sanitized box with all the consumables required for processing and is transferred to the cord blood processing laboratory. Samples are extracted from the whole cord blood before processing for cell counting and cord blood grouping. Cord blood bag is now attached to an AXP2 kit, and then the kit is moved inside an AXP2 device where it automatically processes the cord blood to ensure the harvest of maximum quality stem cells. The harvested stem cells are mixed with a cryoprotectant, and post cellular rejuvenation, the cryo bag is inserted into a Teflon bag, sealed, and then further inserted into a metal cassette. Then, this assembly is transferred to the automated controlled rate freezer for gradual decrement of temperature, and when it attains minus 90 degrees Celsius, the unit is finally stored inside the cryogenic storage tank for long-term cryogenic preservation below minus 190 degrees Celsius. This is how Cordlife has been ensuring a healthy future for numerous babies and their families across the globe. Thank you so much for that visuals. I hope it was visible to you. If we can please get your response, if you can give us a thumbs up. Great. Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to this special webinar from Cordlife. I am Olokananda from the marketing team of Cordlife. I will be your host for the next 1 hour. We are truly delighted to have you with us today as we take you through something very important, the Sentinel Report. This report is a valuable tool that provides insight into the quality and viability of your baby's precious stem cells, ensuring they remain a strong safeguard for your future health needs. But before we delve into that, let us please take a moment to introduce ourselves. Cordlife has been a trusted name in the stem cell industry for over 2 decades, with a commitment to innovation, safety, and excellence. We take immense pride in being your partner in securing your child's future health, and we understand the deep trust that you have placed upon us. To all the parents here, thank you for choosing us, for choosing Cordlife, and for believing in the power of stem cell banking. Your decision is a testament to your love and foresight for your baby's future. We are honored to be a part of this journey with you. Today, we have with us here Dr. Rajat Mukherjee, our medical director, who is a consultant pathologist who has been practicing since the last 42 years and has also been associated with us since 2013. Also present with us is Dr. Prashanto Chaudhary, our lab in charge and director, who also happens to be a thalassemiologist and regenerative medicine specialist, practicing for the last 30 years and has been associated with us since 2006. We also have joining with us Deblina from our customer support team, who will be helping us today with all the queries that you might be having. So without further ado, I would like Dr. Chaudhary to introduce to us the concept of Sentinel banking or Sentinel report and what it exactly is and how the parents can benefit out of it. Over to you, Dr. Chaudhary.
Thank you very much, Alokananda. I think I'm audible. So, without much ado, what I'm going to ask you all to do is, can I have the Sentinel sample report, the specimen report that we are planning to share with the clients, or we have already shared with the clients. So, what is happening in the cord blood banking industry is that the umbilical cord blood is collected with the hope that it will be used in future. So now, if it is to be used in future, the cord blood stem cells are to be processed and stored under cryogenic environment seamlessly, maintaining the same cryogenic environment to maintain the potency and the viability of the stem cells such that they can be of use whenever they are called for at the time of a transplant or for a therapy. So here we present the reports of the samples which we call sentinel samples, and the test that we perform is known as the stability testing, which is done on sentinel samples. Can I go to the next page, please? Can you please take me to the next page? So this is a prologue which actually tells the clients, after going through, you will understand that what are the international safe practices and what are the international standards. What I'd like to reiterate here is, you know, cord blood is supposed to be infused or transfused through the vein. So it's an intravenous drug. So every time we take a drug, what do we check? We check that if the drug is correct or not, that has been prescribed by the doctor. And the second thing that we check is the date of expiry. Why do we check the date of expiry? We check the date of expiry because we want to know if the drug has crossed its lifetime for optimum activity. It is a date is set by the manufacturers and it is approved upon by the drug licensing authority that beyond a particular date, the use of a particular drug may be deleterious. This is also true for the umbilical cord blood, which at the cost of repetition is an intravenous drug. So here we are going to bring to you the Sentinel sample report derived dynamic expiry date, which has been the requirement of our licensing and accrediting authorities. Can I go to the next page, please?
Dr.
So this is
Chaudhary,
the guide.
I'm so
Yes.
sorry for interrupting. While you take us through the sample report or the Sentinel sample report, I would request all our clients, if you have any questions, you please note it down. There's a question bar provided for you. You can provide us with all your questions and we will have a Q&A session at the end of this. and we will be more than happy to answer all the questions that you might be having. So you can please note down your questions, whatever you're having. So sorry to interrupt, Dr. Chaudhary. Please
No, thank you, Alakananda, because the bad habit of a doctor is when he or she starts rattling off scientific knowledge, they just don't stop. So, this is a very pertinent thing that if I'm going to take people, you all, everyone, on a voyage on which I'm going to explain what the Sentinel sample report means, but then people have to understand what they are getting. And if they don't understand, we welcome that they ask the pertinent questions, and if we can answer and satisfy them, only then will our endeavor be successful. Thank you. So now I'm going to explain to you what are the tests that are done on the umbilical cord blood, which has been stored over long periods of time. I remember when the Cordlife laboratory was established in 2008. At that point of time, we had processed a lot of samples which were donated to us, which we called the Sentinel samples. These donated samples we had processed. It was collected as any client sample. It was transported as any client sample. It was processed, tested, and cryogenically stored as any other client sample. So it had a particular number of stem cells, and a percentage of it was viable, I mean living, and it was also able to produce more cells. Because we are dealing with the hematopoietic stem cells, they were able to produce the elements of blood, because hematopoiesis means formation of blood. And that is what we all want at the end of the day if we want to go ahead with a transplantation for a malignant or a non-malignant disorder in an individual. So now what we did, and we've been doing this for over the last 10 years, that is, we thaw each one sample or one segment of such a sentinel sample, which was processed, let's say, in 2008 or 2009 or 2010. And then we compare the total nucleated cells, the total stem cells, how many of them are still alive, how many of them are recoverable, and how many of them are still potent enough to produce the red cells, white cells, and platelets that would be ultimately be expected of them once they are transplanted. So we do this in a laboratory. And once we are able to touch the international standards or better them, then only we are assured that the client samples which are stored with us are having the same quality. So, what are the tests that are done? You can see total nucleated cell recovery, CD34 and CD45 cell viability, sterility, and potency by doing the colony forming unit assay. What does the viability report tell you? The viability report tells you what percentage of the cells are living today compared to the percentage of living cells when it was originally processed and stored. Same when we do for the hematopoietic stem cell potency assay and for the microbial sterility. All of you know that we store our cord blood in a tank which is a vapor phase of liquid tank or liquid nitrogen tank, and we are proud to say that this vapor phase of liquid nitrogen actually ensures against cross contamination. So to show that cross contamination has not happened in a sample, we do a culture of the samples, which is the microbial culture, and see if there is any bacterial or fungal growth in that particular sentinel sample. And the most important part is we also give you the yearly report of the temperature chart of the temperature excursions of a particular cryogenic storage tank, which has been recorded by our lab monitoring system. So can we go to the next page? Here you can see that the serial number of the particular unit, the sentinel sample, which was used is given here. The specific tank in which it was stored is given, that is the CLSI 034. What was the volume of umbilical cord blood that was stored? As any other client sample, you can see 25 ml was stored. And out of that, we have taken 0.5 ml of from the one of the segments of the whole umbilical cord blood that was stored, and that 0.5 ml was used for testing. You can see the actual date of processing and cryopreservation in for this particular case was 9 September 2008, and we did break this zero point 0.5 ml segment, thawed it and tested it for the stability testing, which was done last year on the 9th of December 2024. So the entire duration of successful cryogenic storage at a temperature not warmer than minus 150 degrees Celsius has been calculated to be 16 years, 3 months. Below that is the cryogenic storage vessel details. You can see the red line that is given. That red line runs through the temperature which is minus 160 degrees Celsius. You might think when we say that we want to store them at a temperature which is not warmer than minus 150, why have we got a red mark at minus 160? Because for all practical purposes, this particular instrument has got to sound an alarm if the temperature ever goes above the particular temperature that is required for this temperature for this sample to be cryogenically stored uninterruptedly. But if some mishap is there, we should be able to rescue the sample also. So that is why our alarm limit has been set at minus 160, so that we know that the tank is becoming warmer and we can take proactive steps to save the sample. But you can see from the curve that is given in black, none of the temperature excursions have gone above minus 180 or warmer than minus 180. So this is one real-time temperature graph for the last 1 year, which has been printed out from the lab monitoring system that is from Thermo Fisher that we use. You can see the actual date and time of printout and the maximum and minimum temperature that is given. If there are any questions, I think the our respected parents will always be asking us. I'll be waiting to answer them to the best of my ability at the end of near the end of the session. Now I'd request you to take me to the next page.
Yes, we already have questions pouring in, so we will be keeping a note of it, and we'll be addressing them at the end of the session.
Okay, next page, please. Here you can see the cellular recovery details. Internationally, if you compare the standards, the recovery of the cells are permitted. It has to be more than 50%. So if you can see to the Venn diagram given on the right side of the presentation, you can see it is a red mark if it is up to 50%. So the cellular recovery has to be more than 50%. That means today, if I'm storing 100 cells, at the end of my storage period, if I cannot recover 51 cells out of those 100 cells, it is not worth storing. But then we are talking about a red mark. What is the acceptable standards in the world? The acceptable standard is 80%. So today, if you store 100 cells and after 20 years, you can recover at least 80 cells, then you are there as far as the world standard or international standard is concerned. Anywhere between more than 80 to 100 is regarded as exceptional. So you can see for Cordlife, the sample which was processed and stored about 17 years ago still retains a recovery of 91% of the nucleated cells for this particular Sentinel sample unit. Now let us think how much of these cells, we've recovered the cells all right, but let us see how many of these cells are alive, because if the cells are not alive, then they won't work. So there are the two basic classification of cells known as CD45 and CD34. With these, if a cell is CD45 positive and CD34 positive, we call them hematopoietic or blood forming stem cells or blood forming primitive cells. Again, if we compare as 50% to be the minimum yardstick, 80% to be the comparative international yardstick, and anywhere between more than 80 to 100% to be the standard which Cordlife would like to maintain. You can see that the CD34, living CD34 recovery has been to the extent of 91.7%, and the living CD45 recovery has been to the extent of 99.3%. So this is Cordlife statistics of the Sentinel sample, which was processed about 17 years ago, and it has spent 17 years in the cryogenic storage tank at a temperature which has not exceeded minus 150 degrees Celsius. Now, you've got the cells which are 91% recovered. We all know that the cells are also 99 to 91% viable, they're living. But what is the guarantee that they're going to work once we place them inside the human body? So, Cordlife, with collaboration and with international standard comparability, have created a platform in which these cells mimic the environment of the bone marrow or the tissue in which the blood cells are formed. We call it the CFU assay or the colony forming unit assay, where these stem cells, a specific count of these stem cells, are put inside this culture media, and they are allowed to grow outside the human body, where they start producing pre red cells, pre white blood cells, and pre platelets. Now, let us see the reports of that. Could we go to the next page, please? So if you see, the first one is the potency preservation related details, which we call the CFU assay. CFU stands for colony forming unit assay. So the first one is CFU GEMM. So what is GEMM? GEMM stands for the progenitors of the white cell, red cell, and the platelets. We call it granulocyte, erythroid, megakaryoplastic, and monoplastic lineage. You can see that the normal of the growth is 1 to 59, where this 18-year cryogenically, 17-year cryogenically stored umbilical cord blood, which was a sentinel sample, has been able to produce at least 40 colonies. So that is a pass. Next, we wanted to see if this cell, these group of cells, could be matured a bit further. So we went in the red cell lineage and we tried to get the next step of differentiation and specialization of the CFU-GEMN, where we called it the burst forming unit erythroid or the red cells. Here again, you can see the acceptable ranges from 1 to 310, and the cord blood, which was cryogenically stored for about 17 years, have been able to grow 145 BFUE as the colony. So again, both these are accepted as regards international standards. In the next graph, you will see that I was talking about cross-contamination. So the cells that were preserved were inoculated into bottles, which were fed into the automated blood culture system. There we cultured these umbilical cord blood units for microbial contamination, that is by bacteria, which is aerobic bacteria and fungus, and anaerobic bacteria. You can see both the real-time images of the cultures. If you once you get the reports, you will be able to check the date and time when it was inoculated and when it was taken out, and you can see both are negative. That means if the initial processing date the culture was negative, and even now the culture is negative, then we've got a green light that there has been no cross contamination from any other sample to this particular unit of umbilical cord blood. Can I go to the next page, please? I think these are the frequently asked questions,
Yes,
and
I think
Polopananda and
yes.
Deblina would be taking a bit of time to bombard me with a few
Yes.
questions. I think you're getting
I
ready.
think
Okay.
we can stop the visuals right now
Okay.
because
So we have a few set of questions which we would like to ask on behalf of all our clients, because we have a few frequently asked questions noted down. So Aloka, if you can please.
Yes. So, Dr. Chaudhary, first of all, thank you so much for that vivid insight and walking us through the sample report. I'm sure that the parents also have got a detailed understanding of exactly how to read the report and how much this means to them. So, a few questions that we already have with us and which are very frequently asked questions that we also get throughout the year is number one is how do we procure the sentinel samples? The first question is that. So how do you, would you like to address that?
Okay. The Sentinel samples are actually donated samples. These are non-commercial, non-client samples which have been donated to Cordlife for the sole purpose of destructive research. It is a donated sample. That means we are going to procure it, we are going to put it through the same, what should I say, the same obstacles or problems that a commercially procured sample faces, and even more. We want to stress them out to the maximum amount of time and temperature possible to get the worst of results, and then put it and store it and to see how it works out. And the most important part is it is a non commercial, non client sample. Number two, it is donated. And number three, it is meant for destructive testing and research. So that is how we procure it. And most important part is we cannot share the sample with anybody. These are not for sale. As any sample which has been kept with Cordlife is the property of the client. We cannot even touch it
Recording in
without their
progress.
permission. That is why this is also that the client has given it to us with a prerequisite that nothing can be done with it other than destructive research.
Okay, so that clarifies a lot of it. But this also leads me to the second question, which is related to the first one, which is that if I am a client, after hearing this part from you, I would also like to ask you that then why is the test not performed directly on my sample? So if you can clarify, I do understand that you did give me a bit of insight on that, but if you can clarify this part a bit more.
I think one key word which I used was this particular sample is meant for destructive testing. Okay.
Right.
Why? Because once we finished processing, the umbilical cord blood is injected with a particular chemical which protects it from the extreme cold. Extreme cold. Minus 196 degrees Celsius is possibly cooler than the coldest thing that you've ever touched. Not for you because you've been to the lab, you know what I'm talking about. But for most people, it's cooler than the coldest thing that they've ever touched.
Right.
So once we put a stem cell through this, the stem cell has to be asleep. Go to a sci-fi movie where a person is put into a soma sleep. So the cells are put into a soma sleep with a particular chemical, which is known as a cryoprotectant. Now it is frozen. Think that this particular stem cell, which is a liquid actually, is frozen solid such that if I bang this particular cell after freezing on my table, it is going to cause an indent on the table. It's so hard. But before doing any physiological test on it, which is going to mimic the human environment, I cannot do a test if it is at minus 196 degrees Celsius. It has the temperature has to be brought up to plus 37, which is the temperature of my human body. So in the process of bringing it up, it has to be liquefied. That is what we call thawing. So if
Right.
we thaw, the particular temperature of exceeding going beyond 4 degrees Celsius is going to bring out the toxic effects of that chemical, which actually helped the cells while it was in cryosleep. I think because I have a very bad habit of putting in medical jargons, I think I'm clear with this.
Yeah, I think we are pretty much clear with the concept right now of
Yeah,
exactly what the Sentinel sample is, how we procure it, and exactly why is it not performed on the client sample.
not
And
yet, not yet.
not
So
right.
now, if I'm going to thaw that particular solid thing, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot thaw it piecemeal. I've got to thaw it in toto. So if I'm going
Okay.
to thaw it in toto, then the entire 25 ml sample is destroyed.
Okay.
Why? Because we perform the Sentinel sample testing by putting in small segments. That is because it is meant for that. So we take out small segments and test on it. And number
Okay.
two, think of it. Even if we were to devise a new technology by which we could have thawed it in part, but every time I take out zero point 0.5 ml, ultimately the client has got 25 ml. So 25 divided by 5 in 25 years, the client sample would have been exhausted. Then what would the client be using at the time of requirement? That is why
Right.
Cordlife has devised this unique method of stability testing using donated samples, which we call Sentinel samples. And I really want to thank the clients who have given this, the donors who have given us this particular unit for us to do destructive test on. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had known what is the potency, what is the viability at the end of X number of years, rather than boasting that I can do it. Today, if I give the stem cell to somebody, that person should be assured, yes, though I have kept the sample for 16, 17, 18 years, my samples are still usable. This is the assurance.
Right. So that clarifies a lot of the things. Now, again, posing as a parent, might I ask you that the sample processing date does not match with my child's date of birth or the collection. So, does that mean that the report doesn't belong to me, or is it not relevant to me?
Yes, by now the clients have understood that the procurement date is the procurement date of that sentinel sample. You know, uh, if I do some cooking sometimes, I don't think my wife is a part of this session
I hope
because every
not.
time I cook something, I give it to her for tasting. And once she comes up and says, yes, it is okay, then I can serve it to other people. So Cordlife cooked up a lot of cord blood units before it even started the business. So at that point of time, we were doing trial and error. So while we are doing this, can we do it on a client sample? No. That is why this sample has been processed and stored even before one client sample came to Godlife. And that is how it is assured that the time limit of this is so huge. So
Okay.
that's why the date of procurement will never match with any of the client sample as far as this long storage is concerned. But all the cryogenic storage tanks that we have were not procured in one day. They were procured over 20 years or 18 years. Now, once we have procured over 18 years, slowly we got donated sample over the years. And these
Right.
samples were put into different tanks. So it might be that some would be having a date of storage of 16 plus years. Some might have it of 7 months because that's from the current tank. Okay.
Okay. All right. So
And
that
it is
leads
very
me to
pertinent for
a
the client.
few.
Yeah, it's very pertinent for the client
Right.
because the client ultimately should be interested in how the entire cryogenic is going, how
Right.
the potency viability assay is. Okay, yeah,
Right.
please.
So it leads me to a very similar question. However, if you would like to still enlighten us on this, that how does the Sentinel sample represent my child's sample? Exactly. How does it represent it? So that's exactly the question.
Okay, a sentinel sample has been collected like any commercial sample. A sentinel sample has been transported like any commercial sample. It has been subjected to the same stresses, the thermal stresses, the environmental stresses, like any other client sample. It has been processed like any other client sample. It has been tested and cryogenically stored as any other client sample.
Right.
So, if that is the journey that I am expecting a particular client sample to make, and mind you, the tank in which the client samples are stored, the sentinel samples are also stored in the same tank. And these are very big tanks. The tank is about 6 feet in height. So a tank's highest temperature, because the lower part is minus 196.8, the topmost part is about minus 196. So every time you open the lid of the tank, the topmost part becomes exposed to the environment. Though there is an air curtain, but it still gets exposed. So every time you open a tank and close a tank, the worst position a sample would be in will be in the upper tier. So we store these samples in the upper tier such that the worst condition of a tank is mimicked by these samples. And if today a sample in a normal storage tank, which is also holding the client sample and is on the topmost tier, can exhibit 80% plus recovery, 90% plus viability, and about very potent reports as you've seen, and with no culture contamination, I think that is the best testament that this particular sample is okay. And the client would know that each and every client have got their samples in definite tanks, and the client will be receiving reports, and the tank number might differ from one to the other, because we are sending the client reports of those tanks in which the client sample is being held. So it actually is mimicking the environment inside the tank, which is being experienced by the client sample also. So I guess it is very safe to conclude that the same environmental factor, if it hasn't caused any damage to the sentinel sample, which is being stored under worst conditions, the client sample has to be safer.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that. Out of so much that you said and also the video that we saw, I picked up one term, that is stability testing. Stability testing, right? So
Yeah.
one of the questions which I also found a lot of the times with our customer care team, that is that how is the stability testing done? And also, how does this assure that the cord blood will withstand the journey to the transplantation center? So this is one question which I think which is very frequently asked by our parents.
So the stability testing is a procedure. First, I said the collection to processing to cryogenic storage. This is a journey which is taken up by all the samples, including the sentinel samples. After that, this sample, a client sample, is going to be taken out of the tank, put it, put that thing into a vapor shipper, and it will be shipped to the transplant or the therapy facility, where they will warm the sample up to a temperature of plus 37 within within 5 minutes.
Right.
It will be reconstituted with normal saline or some fluid, and then it will be given via a vein. What we do is we've taken up the entire thing which is in the cryogenic storage. We identify the sentinel sample, we cut the segment, we put it into a 35 degrees Celsius water bath. There, the sample gets liquefied within 5 minutes. We charge it with saline, and then we take out and perform the tests of viability, recovery by cell counting, viability by flow cytometry, and potency by methocult assay. And the culture is being done by the automated blood culture instrument. So this is what is going to be done by every transplant physician before the unit is actually transplanted. So this actually reflects the situation or the scenarios that a commercial sample is supposed to undergo from collection to transplantation. So this is a reflection of what a transplant physician is going to find, or what the body is going to get at the end of the day. So this is what it mimics. So that we felt that this journey can best be represented by the global stability testing program that we have adopted.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much for that insightful session, Dr. Chaudhary. We are now going to have a quick interactive session for all our clients. There will be a poll that will be coming up on your screen. there will be some science-based questions. We want all the parents to participate and answer. And based on your answers, we will be sharing some fun facts with you regarding stem cell banking. So, can we please have the poll?
Don't worry, these are not as technical as mine ones.
Yes, yes, yes. Please, to all the parents, we would love you to participate. The poll is on your screen.
So the question is, name the
The
liquid organ
questions
of your
are
body.
Yes.
visible
Name the
to all.
liquid organ in the body.
Please do select the answer which you find is the correct one. And once the poll ends, we'll share the final answers with all of you and a fun fact about that.
We'd like all the participants to participate. I think there are only 46, 47, 48. And as far as this is concerned, there are 116 participants till now. Alapananda, please excuse me for a minute.
We are going to stop the poll now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so sir, if you can give us the correct answer to this.
The correct answer for this is blood. Blood and lymph, though lymph contains lymphocytes, it is still not regarded as one of the liquid organs of the body. Blood is. So whoever has answered, blood is correct. You know that if you say blood, today, I guess you realize that once you've stored umbilical cord blood, you're actually storing a part of the organ. And the best part of this, the storage thing that you've got here is each and every cell that is present in this umbilical cord blood is capable of making a new organ if put in the proper environment. Once we started cord blood banking, we knew, yes, this could regenerate the blood. But today we know, out of a few researches, that it can regenerate few nerves also. So the neuronal connections become reinstated. With the autistic spectrum disorder and the cerebral palsy trials going on. Tomorrow we don't know if there are trials going on for diabetes. There are trials going on for a thing which we know as myocardial infarction or heart attack. So there might be rebuilding of the heart muscle, which might be a possibility. So do realize that when you're storing umbilical cord blood, you're actually storing an organ. So this is an organ storage that you are going through. And this is not only one organ you're storing, but this particular organ is capable of producing other organs also. That's the uniqueness of umbilical cord blood. So can we go to the next
Yes.
question?
We have the next question on the screen, please.
The next poll is up, so please put your answers on screen.
The
Okay.
question is, which is the largest organ of the human body?
So we have the highest votes for skin. We are still waiting for others to vote in.
We encourage all of you to participate. I hope you can see the poll on your screen. Please participate.
I think we have received the answers. So
I think just a moment more. Still, people are changing their answers. Yeah, I think more or less we are done with it, right? So,
sir, if you can address this one.
Dr. Chaudhary, if we can have the correct answer. I think Dr. Chaudhary is. Dr. Chaudhary, are we audible to you? I think there's some technical problem. Dr. Mukherjee, can you please take over this answer? I think you're on mute.
Yeah,
No, you're audible.
can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, for all those who answered skin, that's the correct answer. I believe 71% answered correct. Skin is considered to be the biggest organ in the body, and that's a correct answer.
Right.
Congratulations to all those who answered it great.
And can you share a fun fact with us about this?
A fun fact about skin.
A fun fact about this, yes. That's what we told our audience. Or Dr. Chaudhary?
I was actually wondering, why did we select skin? We selected skin because Cordlife is the only bank possibly in the whole world who stores cord lining, the cord tissue. And from the cord lining, Cordlife has got a patented technology known as a cell optima, using which Cordlife can make epithelial stem cells from the amniotic membrane. And this can replace skin. So this has been used in many of the countries for regenerating skin, for treatment of non-healing ulcers, wounds, burns, and other things. So again, first we knew that we are storing an organ which is capable of making other organs. Now that we also know that we are storing cord tissue, and from cord tissue, you can make the biggest or the largest organ of the human body, that is the skin. That is the fun fact we wanted to state.
I think that's a great news for our parents. Not news, I'm sure they were aware of it, but this is a great insight for our parents out there. The next poll, please. I think we have one more question. Yes, so we have question number 3 on your screen.
So this
Parents,
is a bit tricky one. So let's see who answers this correctly. Or how many of you answered this correctly.
Devrina, our parents are very smart.
I can see that.
Yes.
Question states, who has the most nerve connections, a child or an adult? That's a bit tricky. That's a bit tricky. Okay, okay.
I think we have guys, can like parents, can we please request all of you to participate? I think we still have a few of the parents who needs to participate. We'll just allow few seconds more for all of you to lock in your answers. I think we have all the major answers. So, Dr. Chaudhary, our parents think that the most nerve connections are within a child. Would you like to enlighten us on this?
Uh, the polling says that 78% says that it's in the child, 4% says it's adult, and 18% says both are the same. The answer here is the child has got about 100 million nerves, and an adult has got about 7 trillion nerves. But the interneuronal connections makes the child having landing up with more nerve connections than that of an adult. So a small body can function so well informed about the nature's needs and of the inside. So I guess our parents have answered correctly. Most.
See, Deblina?
So they are very smart. Though an adult has a big body, that doesn't mean that they have got the most nerves. And again, I'd like to share with you something which I had just peeked on. This is the fun fact. If we are storing stem cells from umbilical cord blood, till about 10 or 15 years ago, we thought that these cells are only capable of making blood. But the first clinical trial outside the transplantation scenario was launched, where the children with cerebral palsy were given their own umbilical cord blood, which comes by the name of autologous reinfusion of umbilical cord blood. And children who were like, they were at the mercy of nature. They had to do everything. Everything had to be done by their parents and their caregivers. Suddenly started turning their heads, becoming prone, laughing, responding to music, to the establishment of the neuronal connections by autologous reinfusion of umbilical cord blood. And now we also know that this particular thing can be used for autistic spectrum disorder also. So that is the fun fact, that though the human children and the adults have the same number of connections, there might be a few who, due to some insult, might not land up with the same number of connections. So, to restore those connections, you can use the stored umbilical cord blood, and that can give this kind of a child an entirely new life and an entirely new dimension to the living of the entire family. So, that is the message I wanted to share with you.
Great.
One of our clients have said that life science class in school days renewed with Dr. Chaudhary sir's session. So I believe the clients have really enjoyed your session.
Yes. So I think we also will have a feedback post our session. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary, for walking us through that. Debrina, might I hand it over to you for you to take us through the live questions that are poured in? So
Sure.
if you
Sure,
can
sure.
take us through that,
So,
yes.
firstly, we would like to thank all of our clients for taking out their valuable time and joining this session and making this session a success. It is our pleasure to have been able to connect with you all. We have already had multiple questions pouring in, so we'll start with the first question. The first question which we received was, what's the use of a Sentinel report?
By now, I think the question has been answered in aplenty.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Ultimately,
second, yeah. The second
ultimately,
question which we have again was related to the same thing. I believe these questions came in when you was explaining the entire thing. So I think we'll skip this question for now.
I'll just give you one small example. Like, all of us know that there is an artisan village in West Bengal by the name of Krishnanagar. Yes? How many of your yeses?
Maybe people can just give a
Mukherjee is
thumbs
in
up if
yes.
you're aware.
Devlina is in yes. Olokananda is also. All of you know Krishnanagar, right? Okay.
Yes.
So in Krishnanagar, the first time I didn't know, I was a child, and I was very fond of sweets. And my bus was going through, and they were selling something known as shor bhaja. And there was a person sitting on the terrace of that particular shop selling brinjals, uh, some fruits, some vegetables. And I asked my Mom, why do I have to take those which are in the showcase? And let me take something which is with this person. Little did I realize that this particular thing, a same shorbhaja, was presented on a plate. And there were 4 pieces of shorbhaja. This person was selling sitting on the terrace. And there was shorbhaja which was being sold by the people who were making it, the sweet shops. My mom told me, Babu, those are made of clay. Those are made of clay. I touched it. Before touching it, I did not realize that sweet which was there within the glass showcase was made of clay. So the message I want to put through to everybody is the particular essence of doing everything lies in tasting it. If you see a cake, it feels sweet, does not mean it's sweet. You take a scoop out of it and taste it. That is, if it tastes sweet on tasting, yes, it is sweet. So today, if I give you an assurance that I have got lakhs of units which has been stored in the tanks at minus 196 degrees Celsius, and they're all okay, they'll be usable at a particular point of time tomorrow. God knows when that tomorrow is. It's like the horizon. Every time we step one step further, the horizon goes backwards. What is the assurance that without touching any of the client sample, without destroying any of the commercial samples, what is the assurance that I'm going to get? Yes, that my sample is also okay. This is the assurance which comes through periodical testing and rigorous procedure that is followed by Cordlife, which has been done for the last 10 years. And now we can say, yes, our cord blood is okay for the last 17 years. So that is the assurance you get. So until and unless you have tasted it, the taste is TASTE, now it is TEST. Until we taste it, we haven't tested it. So let us do both. And that is what this Endeavor Cordlife thrives through this excellence. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much,
Sorry
sir.
for
Thank
taking
you.
so much of your time.
Okay. The second question which we have for you is that I want to know if there is any time limit of preservation of cord blood samples. After that, not possible to preserve.
Okay, the scientific knowledge and the statistical knowledge are two different things. So the scientific knowledge till date tells us that an umbilical cord blood which has been stored continuously at below minus, sorry, not below, at not warmer than minus 150 degrees Celsius can retain potency for 39 years. Saying this, please remember that the 39 years old cord blood was processed and stored with the technology which is 39 years old. But still then, a 39-year-old cord blood has been able to go through the rigorous tests of potency and through transplant. There has been something known as a statistical regression analysis where the reduction in percentage of the viability and the cell recovery was plotted in a graph against time. So we have our 10 years graph. So when we extended that, we found that our cord blood, which is stored with Cordlife, through our Sentinel sample or stability testing program, has got the capability of being stored with full potency for a long time than we commit today. Long time. Because I think the clients who are here, the parents, who have been receiving the cord blood Sentinel sample reports for the last 2, 3, 4 years, if they plot a dot, they'll be able to tell themselves till how much time this is storable and usable. But saying that, this is theory, this is statistics. Practically, we can say yes, it should remain potent for at least 39 years. Next year, if the same report comes out and if still those marks, the landmarks are achieved and managed, then it will be 40 years. Year after that, it will be 41. So this is an evolving technology. And this is again, as the drug manufacturers call it, we've got a dynamic expiry date for this particular drug. Next, any others?
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, the next question which we have from one of the parents are, can you share any success story or case study where stem cells have been found to treat medical conditions?
I think we have got a lot of success stories. Every year, the success stories are coming up. We have had children who have been cured of thalassemias, sickle cell disorders, chronic granulomatous disease, acute leukemia, and lymphoma, and of course, of autistic spectrum disorder and cerebral palsy through the cord blood units that have been stored and distributed by Cordlife. And a part of this particular thing that we are sharing with you is there on the taking the first step or other commercial materials. I think Olokonanda would be a better person to tell in which particular commercial material we have it, but those testaments are all there. And as we go on releasing our units, you will also get the good news. So, one more good news, a milestone making event is in the making. Once it happens, we'll definitely share with our family. And today, my family is not less than 1.5 lakhs. So, we'll share it with them.
Yes. So the next question which we have is, where is your lab? When can we see the lab? If we need, then how do we approach you? So these are a few questions which are cumulative and same of the same nature. So if you can let the clients know.
Our lab is situated about 6 kilometers from the borders of Kolkata in South 24 Parganas. We welcome any visitor who would like to come and see the cord blood being processed. Also have a first-hand experience of what the cryogenic tank looks like. How cold is minus 196 degrees Celsius? At least don't touch it and feel it. You can have the essence of how cold it is and how robust is our storage system, how robust is the alarm system. And I think Dr. Mukherjee and myself are here, and there are other in the lab. While we are delivering this lecture to you, they are spending their sweat maintaining your cord blood in a condition that it should remain usable for the time that we have committed to you. So they're all there beside you. We always welcome you. Please contact our customer support. Deblina is there. Our sales people are there. If you want to have a virtual tour also, if you are somewhere in a place where you cannot come to Kolkata, we'll arrange virtual tour for you. You can see these things happening in real time. But welcome.
I
Yes.
think that instills a lot of confidence within our parents, Dr. Chaudhary.
Yes, we always want our clients to come and visit our lab so that they can have a real life experience on how the entire processing and everything is done, so that they can get more assurance of about the entire process.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question which we have is again more or less the same. What is the approximate lifespan of the stem cells that is preserved with Cordlife?
I guess I've already explained that.
Yes. Okay.
So today it is to us, it is about 17 years. And if everything goes okay, next year it will be 18 and we will proceed from there.
If part of the sample cannot be extracted, then how is it possible to use my sample for at the time of requirement?
Because your sample, if the doctor says that this particular unit is to be used, where you all know that the umbilical cord blood cryogenic storage pouch is a bicompartmentalized pouch, where there is a 20 ml segment and a 5 ml segment. So if the doctor says that the cell count we share with the physician, and if the physician says that a 5 ml segment is okay for treatment, then what we will do is we will break the 5 ml segment inside the cryogenic storage tank and we will dispense with the 5 ml segment. If the doctor says that it is the 20 ml segment that is to be used, we will again keep the 5 ml and we will dispense with the 20 ml segment. So that is how a multiple use can happen using the umbilical cord blood. But for all practical purposes, for our Sentinel samples, we store it in a multi-segmented compartment, multi-segmented pouch, where we can extract as low a volume as 0.5 ml. That will not be possible for commercially stored cord blood units.
Right. All right. So the next question which we have is, can the umbilical cord blood stored be used for an adult's treatment? Is it sufficient to treat an adult?
There have been, at least if I do remember correctly, there have been 3 or 4 publications in which adults have been treated through umbilical cord blood stem cells and they have been successful. I want to put through one message to all of you, to all our parents. The umbilical cord blood, once we started doing a bit of a research, people said that umbilical cord blood stem cells contain daughter cells. Then the next set of research said, no, 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 these are a bit more primitive. So it contains mother cells. 5, 6 years after that, they said, no, no, no. There are cells which is even more primitive. So I asked them, what should I call them? Grandmother cells? I said, no, no, it's not like grandmother cells, but yes, these are cells which are more primitive. So what happens is, today, if I have, as we had shown in the CFU program, did you see that one particular cell can give rise to 40 CFU GEMM? And each of these 40 CFU GEMM can give rise to 136 red cell forming units, not even mature red cells. Each of those can give rise to 300 red cells. So if I'm storing very primitive cells, that is going to divide, is going to give rise to primitive cells. The primitive cells is going to give rise to mature cells. So it might be that the cells will require time to come, engraft, and make the definite number of cells which is required for the curing of a disease, be it an adult, be it a child. In a child, because the body surface area or the blood volume is low, it will be done faster. But in an adult, where the body surface area or the blood volume is higher, it will be done slower. But it will be done because we are not dealing with daughter cells, we are not dealing with mother cells, but quote unquote, we are dealing with grandmother cells also. And of course, saying that, there are publications now that when these transplants have successfully happened.
Right. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for answering all the queries. We have a few more queries. Maybe we can request the clients to drop in the queries to support team so that we can take up the queries because they are more or less of the same nature. And also we have a time constraint now, so we can't take up more queries. So thank you so much, sir. And if all our clients have found this session informative and useful, we request you to please, inform your friends and family about the importance of cord blood banking. Please encourage them to enroll for this. And now, Aloka, I would hand the stage over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. Thank you, Deblina. Just to remind you, we have a great referral program that we run. So please refer your friends, families, whoever you have, whom you actually care for. Please gift them the healthy future for their child. Dr. Mukherjee, if you would like to add anything to this before we conclude the session.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lokananda and Deblina, and especially Dr. Chaudhary for fielding all the questions and for the wonderful presentation. But most of all, I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart all the young parents who are here with us today, and they make everything worthwhile. And I wish you all the very best in future, for now and for future. And we assure you of our support, and wherever you need any help from us, we're always there to walk with you and hold hands with you to take you through your problems. Thank you very, very much once again for being with us today.
You, Dr. Mukherjee. Thank you to all the participants over here, our parents who have entrusted us with their child's future health. Thank you for choosing Cordlife. Cordlife is with you throughout. If you have any questions, any queries, please call us at our support phone number, or you can write to us over mail. We are always here to help you. And thank you so much. We'll conclude the session over here. Thanks a lot.
We'll be sharing a feedback link with everybody, with all the participants. Please do give us your valuable feedback. It will only help us to improve our services and make things better for you. So please do give us your valuable feedback. We'll be waiting for your rewards.
Thank you so much, doctors. We'll conclude the session.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
very much.
Thank you
very
so much,
And
parents.
also to the team who has supported this entire webinar, and to the lab and everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Record.